Good day, everyone. This is Miss Christine Akog. Today, I will be talking about business letters. We will be knowing its essential and non-essential parts, formats or styles, fonts, spacing and margins, and lastly, their characteristics. What exactly is a business letter and why would a professional write one? Business letters are written messages to a person or group within a professional setting. Business letters are used when the writer would like to be formal and professional. Letters may vary in length depending on the writer's objective, purpose, and the message of the letter. The letter can address anyone, including but not limited to clients and customers, managers, agencies, suppliers, and other business personnel or organizations. It is important to remember that any business letter is a legal document between the interested parties. These documents can be held for up to 7 years, so it is important that all information is honest and legitimate. The main thing that differentiates a business letter from other letters is that a business letter is a legal document. The writer can be held liable for anything written in the letter. For example, if it is stated that a project will be completed by a certain date in a business letter, the project legally must be completed by that date. However, if the project can't be completed by that date, another letter can be written stating the project is behind schedule and why. For this reason, business letters must be written differently than letters used for personal use. There are six essential parts of a business letter. First is the heading. The heading contains the return address with the date on the last line. Sometimes it is necessary to include a line before the date with a phone number, fax number, or email address. Often there is a line skipped between the address and the date. The international style of writing the date is to write the day, followed by the month, and then the year. Here are some examples of the heading. If you are using letterhead stationery, before that, what is a letterhead stationery? A letterhead stationery is a stationery printed or engraved, usually with the name and address of an organization, or simply the heading at the top of a letterhead. Usually it comes with a fancy masthead and logo just like the samples shown in the slide. It is not necessary to type a return address if you are using stationery with the return address already imprinted, but you should always use the date. Make sure also that the heading is on the left margin if you are using the block format style. Next is the inside address. The inside address shows the name and address of the recipient of the letter. This information can help prevent confusion at the recipient's offices. Also, if the recipient has moved, the inside address helps to determine what to do with the letter. In the inside address, include the appropriate title of respect of the recipient and copy the name of the company exactly as that company writes it. When you do have the names of individuals, remember to address them appropriately, like Mrs., Miss, Mr., Doctor, and so on. If you're not sure what is correct for an individual, try to find out how that individual signs letters or consult the forms of address section in a dictionary. Here are some examples of an inside address in a business letter. Next is the salutation. The salutation directly addresses the recipient of the letter and is followed by a colon, except when a friendly, familiar, or sociable tone is intended, in which case a comma is used. If you don't know whether the recipient is a man or woman, the traditional practice has been to write "Dear Sir" or "Dear Sirs," but that's sexist. To avoid this problem, salutations such as "Dear Sir" or "Madam," "Dear Ladies and Gentlemen," "Dear Friends," or "Dear People" have been tried, but without much general acceptance. Deleting the salutation line altogether or inserting "To whom it may concern" in its place is not ordinarily a good solution either. It's impersonal. The best solution is to make a quick anonymous phone call to the organization and ask for a name, or address the salutation to a department name, committee name, or a position name. Dear Personal Department, the Recruitment Committee, dear Chairperson, dear Director of Financial Aid, for example. Next is the body of the letter. The actual message, of course, is contained in the body of the letter, the paragraphs between the salutation and the complimentary close. This is the meat of your letter. Here is an example of a body. Notice that its text is single-spaced within paragraphs, double spacing between paragraphs. Since it is in block format, there is no paragraph indentation. There is also use of special formatting within the letter in this example. Yes, you can use bulleted or numbered lists for readability and even illustrations for comprehension. Now I have the complementary clause. The complimentary clause is a short and polite remark that ends your letter. Common ones are sincerely yours, cordially, respectfully, or respectfully yours. You can design your own, but be careful not to create florid or wordy ones. Notice that only the first letter is capitalized and is always followed by comma. And lastly, the signature block. Skip at least 4 lines after the close for your signature and then type out the name to be signed. If you're printing this letter out and sending it by mail, you will sign your name in pen. This line will include your first and last name and often includes a middle initial, although it is not required. You may put your title beforehand to show how you wish to be addressed, such as Miss, Mrs., or Doctor. Whenever possible, include your title or the name of the position you hold just below your name. For example, technical writing student, software data processing major, or University of World student are perfectly acceptable. The signature should be in blue or black ink. Here is a sample business letter with its parts labeled. This is another format if you noticed. There are paragraph intentions. As we go along the discussion, we will talk about the formats or styles of business letters. Anyway, in this example, there is the letterhead or typed heading at the very top, followed by the date, next is the inside address, then the salutation, and the body. At the bottom, you can find the complimentary clause and the signature block below it. Now let's move on to the non-essential parts of the business letter. First is the attention line. When you want to direct a letter to a specific person or department in an organization, you can use an attention line. Its placement is normally between the inside address and salutation with a blank line before and after it. Next is the subject line. The purpose of the subject line is to let the reader know immediately what the message is about. It also helps in filing. The subject line may include or omit the word subject. It is usually placed in the second line below the salutation and centered or placed with the left margin. Typing may be capitals and lowercase and underline or bold or all caps. Enclosures. The notation alerts the receiver to check for enclosure. It is usually typed a single or double space under the reference initial. It also reminds whoever prepares your envelope for mailing that something is to be enclosed. If you have any enclosed documents such as resume, you can indicate this by typing enclosures 1 line below the listing. You also may include the name of each document. Copy notation. If you send copies of a letter to others, indicate this fact among the annotations also. If, for example, you're upset by local merchants handling of your repair problems and were sending a copy of your letter to the Better Business Bureau, you'd write this, CC colon Better Business Bureau. If you plan to send a copy to your lawyer, write something like this, CC colon Mr. Raymond Mason, comma attorney. Type CC before the recipient's name or PC if it is a photocopy. Reference line. This is to give any number to a business letter for the ease of filing and quick recognition for both the sender and the reader. The account number is typed above the body of the letter at a conspicuous place or a place that is easily visible and at eye level. Mailing notation. Whenever a letter is sent by special or extraordinary means such as special delivery, certified or registered mail, then we write mailing notation. A small caption such as special delivery, certified or registered on top of the letter, 2 spaces below the date line, double spaced before the inside address or below the last notation is made to give importance to the letter so the reader would realize it. Reference initial. Sometimes the writer and the signer of a letter are different signature people. At least, the file copy of a letter should bear both their initials and as well as the typist's. The initials in all caps in the preceding figures are those of the writer of the letter, and the ones in the lowercase letters just after the colon are those of the typist. Postscript. If you forget to write anything in the body of the letter, if you want to emphasize or stress upon a point already in your letter, or if you want to include a brief personal message or greetings unrelated to the letter, a postscript, typed or handwritten, can be written at the end. It should be added below everything else typed or written on the page. Following pages page heading. If the letter is long and an additional page is required, a second page heading is used. The name of the receiving person organization, page number, and date are included in the second page heading. However, reference number can also be included. It can be handled in one of the following ways. In one line, write your name, the page number, with or without the word page, and then the date. Or you can write the date first before the page number. Or if you want everything to be in the left, you can do so. Here is the summary of the parts of the business letter. There are six essential parts, namely the heading, the inside address, salutation, body, complimentary close, and lastly, the signature block. The non-essential or optional or special parts are the attention line, subject line, enclosures, copy notation, reference line, mailing notation, reference initial, postscript, and page heading of the following pages. Now let's move on to the formats, fonts, spacing, and margining. Many organizations have their own style for writing a business letter, but here are some common examples. Block format. The most common layout for a business letter is called the block format. In this format, the entire letter is justified to the left and single space except for double space between paragraphs. Modified block. Modified block is another popular type of business letter. The body of the letter and the sender's and the recipient's addresses are left justified and single-spaced. However, in this format, the date and closing are tabbed to the center point. Semi-block. The least used style is called a semi-block, in each paragraph is indented instead of left justified. Presentation is also important when it comes to conveying professionalism in a business letter. You're not sending a letter to an old college friend, you're doing business. Here are the spacing and font rules that one generally sees in a business letter. In spacing, letters should be single-spaced between sentences in order to maximize space on the page. Include four line breaks between the letter's closing sentence or paragraph and your printed name to leave space for your signature. For the font, the standard font style is Times New Roman, size 12, though other commonly used fonts such as Arial and Helvetica are acceptable. Readability is crucial when it comes to fonts, so avoid getting creative and using hard-to-read Gothic or cursive fonts. If your letter's body is running out of space on a single page, it's better to cut it down than reduce the font size. For the margins, most experts agree that 1-inch margins are the best because they maximize space, though you may have to make room for a letterhead if you're using it. In whichever format, 1 inch to 1.5 on all sides is used in margining. Just remember, there are 4 lines from the heading when you write the mailing notation if there is. Often there is a line skipped between the address and the date. And never forget to type your name 4 lines below the complimentary close and sign your name in between. Please observe the parts and the spacing. When writing a business letter, remember the 8 C's of writing. There are 8 characteristics of a well-written business letter. Complete. A business letter should be complete, including all details and information pertaining to the subject. Correct. It is important to be completely accurate in all the details you include in a business letter. Always make sure you have included correctly any dates, names, amount of money, and so on. Always proofread the letter before sending it out. Concise. A professional business letter should convey your idea with few words, short sentences, and short paragraphs. Concrete. A business letter should be concrete and not contain vague ideas. Information should be specific. Courteous. Be polite in your business letter. Clear. The importance of clarity and accuracy in a business letter cannot be stressed enough. The chances of your letter being misunderstood are minimal when you adhere to this point. An organized letter is likely to be misunderstood. Consistent. Keep the same format and mood throughout the letter. Being consistent shows that you are professional. Coherent. A good business letter should flow well. Make the sentences and paragraphs short so that your letter is easy to read and understand. A final word of advice is never to convey any form of communication when you are angry or annoyed. That would change the entire mood of the communication and portray a bitter image of yourself and your company. Always remember that responsible communication is the heart of the business. That's all for business letters. Thank you for viewing and listening. God bless us all.